Thank you, Daniela. Anyone who needs the Wi-Fi, the password is right over there near the cookies and near the coffee. We are going to wait 5 more minutes and then we start. That's strange. I can hear myself from Zoom.
Now it's fine.
Okay, now it's fine. Great. So I was saying thank you very much to everyone. I would like, first of all, so I'm the Secretary General of Veltha, and it's my pleasure to say that this event is the result of our whole team. So I would first of all like to ask to think about the importance of Stand Up for Europe and STAM Europa in organizing this event with us. Without them, it was not going to be possible. They are going to speak after me, but also thanks to the people working at Veltha. So from Daniela, which is online, she will be taking care of all these 13 more people that are connecting. And people online, please do ask questions. We're gonna take the time to answer them. But also, of course, Sarah, Program Assistant for Policies, which will be co-moderator today, and all the people from Nora, Morena, all the new interns at Veltha. So thank you very much for this. But also thanks to you. You are so many people, and we are living in times of information overload. There are so many crises, from the Ukrainian war to climate change, energy things. So I really value your time. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for spending time with us. Now, it's the 4th year in a row that we are making something during the European Weeks of Region, but we are at the organization side. But it's the first time that I'm so proud of the variety that we have. I mean, so many people representing EU institutions, representing regions, representing technologies, representing the civil society. And I think that we are in a room where there are 2 axioms that can be taken to start and make something meaningful today. Because from one side, we have EU institutions and regions that must work at the same speed. The implementation to circular economy is something that we must do in a quite quick way. And we cannot wait the all legislative, the normal legislative iter to implement things and to get a feedback from the regions and get it back. So we must go hand by hand. And for example, on the monitoring frameworks and on the way of waste classification, regions must work meanwhile the European Commission is doing stuff. But also the technology and society axiom. I think that the circular economy transition is a very complex topic. And I think that civil society organizations such as Stand Up for Europe have a key role in engaging with people, make sure they understand what is required, and make sure they understand they have a role in all of this. If we don't include civil society in the dimension we are working, in the transition we are working for, we have the risk that political interest will come and slow the whole thing down, let's say. We saw this in July when the Council suggested a cut to Horizon Europe of more than 600 million. That's not the right way, that's not the right direction, but still the civil society is not well informed. No one covered that mediatically. And now it's on the table because the parliament is kind of tackling that. And let's see the result. Civil society has a role in this discussion as well. So let's do the best to have a meaningful conversation. And I would like to leave the word now to Nicoletta, which is the Secretary General of Stand Up for Europe. Thank you, Nicoletta.
Ma come...
No, French.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Vabbè. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. As Luca said, this is an official side event of the European Week of the Regions and Cities. So throughout the week, cities and regions have showcased their capacity to create jobs and growth and implement European Union cohesion policies. So this proves the importance of the local and regional levels for good European governance. So we certainly look forward to continuing those. Okay, those activities today. My name is Nicoletta, and I'm the Secretary General of Stand Up for Europe, a civil society NGO here in Brussels, whose aim is to encourage individuals, other NGOs, and the European institutions to push for more multilateral communication, active collaboration in combating common European problems, integration and inclusivity in our societies, all with the aim to foster a peaceful, sustainable, and united Europe from the ground up. We believe in the power of dialogue and in investing in the younger generations as keys to bringing harmony and solidarity across the Union. We're extremely happy to be here today and to explain how civil society can play an important role in the much needed push for a more circular and sustainable Europe. But I think to begin, it's important that we have a clear definition on what circular economy is, especially situated within the EU context. So the European Commission defines a circular economy as one that aims to maintain the value of products, materials, and resources for as long as possible by returning them into the product cycle at the end of their use while minimizing the generation of waste. So with this definition in mind, we can frame the purpose of today's event, which is to exhibit the different cooperation experiences and disseminate their expertise that these organizing projects have come across and elaborated on in the past several years. We hope that there will be lots of fruitful discussions arising from this, as Luca said, in order to capitalize on the results achieved so far. So as we move forward this morning, you will see the showcasing of these incredible projects, Interreg Europe Replace, the H2020 DigiPrime platform, H2020 Frontship, Duremco I3, the Policy Lab initiative, and finally, the Circular Benchmark tool. To close, Veltha will open the floor for an interactive discussion on inputs and opinions on how to further facilitate the circular economy transition. So today is important because circular economy, and the way we have defined it, is a societal level transformation and therefore requires the widest buy-in from all citizens. Civil society's job is to make sure that accurate information and the steps needed for a successful transition are accessible to all citizens. Sometimes circular economy can appear as an abstract concept, something that's far from reality, but in actuality, it is concrete. In fact, if we look around right now, we can see a tangible example of a circular economy. We're in a building that's taken a second life. For 10 years, STEM Europa was abandoned, a perfect location in the heart of the European quarter in the capital of Europe. By applying circular economy principles, something that we walk past every day, visit co-workers in, or even have a coffee with a friend in, can be illustrations of the most sustainable innovations if we want them to be and if we push for them to be. This building was renovated by making sure that the concept of materials efficiency, as we were talking about in our definition, was present. The STEM Europa project just last year won the Brussels Architecture Prize in the Small Interventions category. This category consisted of architectural projects that were less than 1,000 meters squared, buildings or renovations located in the Brussels capital region, which thanks to a solid plan and responsible use of materials, offered a solution to challenges that this contemporary metropolis faces. This renovation has also been facilitated by a specific tax scheme. So the Belgian Buildings Agencies has exempted taxes on the space for 1 year, and that money instead has been used towards the renovations. So this demonstrates how channeling investments to circular projects can be an effective economic instrument to create space for civil discussions. We're benefiting from this today, and at the same time, civil society organizations continue to use this building to inform citizens on topics that are prevalent today in Europe. STEM Europa was also host to several official side events for the new European Bauhaus Festival this past June. Google has also shown interest in renting the subsequent floors, as well as Europol, which just a few weeks ago held a press release and painted a fresco on this side of the building for their campaign on cybersecurity and criminality. STEM Europa also hopes to expand 1 to 2 floors using the same tax scheme that I mentioned before. All of STEM Europa's programming is done in partnership with Mission Publique, UBO Festival, the Salon for European Civic Organizations, and us Stand Up for Europe. This is all to say that it was civil society that saw potential in this space because of where it's located and what it might be able to give back to the community. And now civil society is in the driver's seat in terms of pushing the information agenda forward for citizens regarding all of these topics, circular economy included. Finally, I would be remiss not to mention that the European Week of the Regions contributes to the important ongoing debate about democracy and citizens' engagement in the context of the Conference on the Future of Europe. The recently ended conference was revolutionary because it included 4 citizens panels with a total of 800 randomly selected and representative citizens from across the EU. These citizens' proposals sparked pressure and a demand for a formal convention, which has now been supported by the Commission and the Parliament. This proves that the power of civil society and individual citizens' actions can produce major fruits. So today we will hear about these circular economy projects and will be shown the real cases of what it means to be efficient and how cooperation between regions is key to achieve responsible production and consumption in Europe. At Stand Up for Europe, our role is that of bringing this message of innovation where other actors in Brussels are perhaps not able to convey the message as effectively and directly to citizens. Our circular economy transition needs to be a societal transformation. It requires citizens to make sustainable choices in the way that they consume, and it needs businesses to modify their business models, forcing public authorities to apply circular principles as that in the Belgian Building Agency. Civil society is a force of change and gathers and organizes demands from citizens to regional representatives and policymakers alike. It ensures that this transition is wanted and fair in the first place. This is why we're meeting today, and this is why we're proud to be co-hosting this event in the context of the European Week of the Regions. In closing, I just wanted to acknowledge and thank our other co-hosts, the Veneto Regional Council, for their contributions. This event is about cooperation and the sharing of best practices. If civil society organizations, as Luca said, work with the regions, we can achieve more of a bottom-up approach to the circular economy. This is something that we're witnessing a lot in the region of Veneto, and we hope to continue this trend all across the European Union. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your morning.
So thank you for your introduction. Nicoletta. Now we were supposed to have the contribution from Roberto Ciambetti, which is the head of the delegation at the Committee of the Region for Italy, but due to last minute inconvenience, he will not be here, but he wants to welcome you and thank you for participating and joining us. A very good day of work. So next speakers will be Elena Angiolini, who is the project officer at the European Health and Digital Executive Agency. She is the officer of the DigiPrime project, and DigiPrime will be presented just after the presentation of Elena. Elena, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for coming.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks a lot for, first of all, inviting me here. And I'm very glad to see finally people, you know, together in the same place at the same time and not just online. And actually, the fact that we can organize now, you know, hybrid events, I think this is, let's say, the positive, the added value of the pandemic. But and also the digitalization, and this is also why I think I'm here. How could say the digitalization and the digital part of let's say the digital contribution to the circular economy. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself just very quickly because I don't know if you already heard about HADEA, and because it's a new executive agency and established in last year in April. And so this is was the decision taken by our parent DGs, which are DG Connect, DG Sante, together with DG Grow. And to, let's say, better implement projects under cluster 4, but not only. So under Horizon Europe, but also other programs related to health and digital. So we deal with Horizon Europe, cluster 1 and cluster 4. And at the same time, there are units dealing with Digital Europe program, for example, Food for Health, and other programs related to food and health. So, and we will follow, I mean, we are the executive agency, and our role is to implement and execute the projects selected during the evaluation, and related to the topics that are published every year, let's say. So how can I move? Or okay. So just a very quick introduction to the contest, the policy context, let's say, even if I'm not a policy officer, but just to give you the context of why some projects are here. I mean, why we decided to implement some kind of project. And this is because we have mainly, let's say, two policy background. One is the Green Deal. And actually, this is also let's say, the goal of the Commission is to, let's say, to reach a more sustainable Europe, more greener. But at the same time, to do so, we need not only, let's say, the green part, the development of the green part, but we need also the contribution of digital technologies. So how those technologies, like, for example, artificial intelligence, 5G, cloud and edge computing, can support this transition. And at the same time, like this year, we the Commission launched the, let's say, a new let's say, policy goal, which is the digital decade, which is and the aim is to empower business people and human in a human-centered, sustainable, more prosperous digital future. So how can we improve our let's say, our lives thanks to digitalization? Yep. And so this is published, let's say, in the vision. Well, you also can check it online on the 2013 digital decade. So we have, let's say, 4 pillars: the skills, the contribution to develop public services, to support the business and infrastructure. To do so, we need to implement, to reach these goals, we need to implement the different programs. And for our contribution will be under Horizon. Our contribution will be under Horizon Europe, under let's say, the second pillar, and the cluster 4 dedicated to digital, industry, and space. And so to do so, we put in place, let's say, some topics. Some call for proposals, because so we have from one side a strategic plan and the orientation, and the other side we have the destination in the work program. So in particular, the link between circular economy and digitalization, it's the destination 1, referring to the let's say, the part of the strategic plan where we would like to have Europe more circular, but also more digital. And the destination is let's say, the destination 1, climate neutral, circular, and digitized production, the so-called twin transition goals. So we started with Horizon Europe last year with the first call for proposals and the first evaluations with the topic Twin Transition 0107. And so this topic focused on manufacturing and industries, but at the same time, so we could see the parallel. I mean, the two activities or the two, let's say, goals to be developed in parallel. So exploited the potential of artificial intelligence. But the goal is to support the circular production. So this is under, let's say the executive part of the Green Deal. So how we put policy in, let's say, in practice. And so now we have some projects still ongoing. So you have also the link to see exactly their web pages. So some examples of projects that are trying to develop from one side artificial intelligence to contribute to a more circular industry. So I mentioned it like S6A API, ideas, circular twin. So those are 3 of the selected projects. I don't want to go more in detail, but you can check it and have your own, you can check it directly on internet. And at the same time, so this was the first call for proposal, and now we have the second one that we are actually finalizing the gaps, which was Twin Transition 0107. And again, this is the scope of this call was to develop new concept, method, digital tools. But again, the goal is to have like industrial processes more dedicated to, to recycling, refurbishing, and also to create this, to improve also the manufacturing sector, and introducing also the recycling part thanks to digitalization. And we can say that these 2 calls for proposal, these 2 topics are not coming just, from nowhere, like one day the commission wake up and say, okay, let's do twin transition activities. This is something that have an heritage also in Horizon Europe, in Horizon 2020. We started to, let's say, try to, create or describe or put in some critical points in places. And again, we create some, they draft some call for proposal who became projects, and one of them is actually is DG Prime. So DG Prime can say it's the heritage or let's say the pioneer project in terms of digitalization and circular economy. So just other projects that are, let's say the brothers or the cousins of, because they came from the same family, from the same topic that has been selected during, the last call in Horizon 2020. So, for example, Quality, ZZMP, KaiClos, Shop4CF, EI Regio. These are examples of other projects that, like DG Prime, are going to, but they will to, develop, let's say, these parallel activities, including also, the idea of a platform where, let's say, the offer from one side and the supply can meet together and try to find sustainable ways to develop, let's say, new products. And I think that, so from this point of view, I would like just to finish with some, let's say, with our expectations. So what are the expectations from the Commission point of view, and then as the executive agency, what we would like to see in this kind of projects. So first of all, since we are in a community, so Europe, we can define it as a community. We need to build on the state of the art, and so in previous European projects and national projects, also regional projects. because we are together, let's say, everything is combined and everything can be complementary to the other. So it's crucial to know what is already existing and, go further with, with new projects. And then, for example, in this case, actually now, the parallel between artificial intelligence, digital technologies, and circular economy. This is also something that is crucial, for this specific, let's say, topic. And then another important point is to let the people know that what they are doing, what are the results. So engage policymakers at national level, regional level. This is also crucial to let the people understand the importance of this kind of activity. And so also stakeholders, like the large public, but also, the simple citizen. It's important that they understand what they need to, what we do. And they can realize that what are the added value and the results. So like only like, let's say, doing this kind of dissemination, people can realize what is the added value. And then, of course, since there are projects coming from, let's say, as I said, for DG Primes, there are cousins, let's say, in the same, from the same topic or complementary topics. Also, this is important to discuss, to try to find collaboration, synergies. So not only from the same topic, but this could be important also for, to discover other programs that could be complementary. For example, at the national level, regional level, the same, probably there are also other projects with, let's say, complementary targets. And then important, but it's related also to the rest, it's important to communicate and disseminate, to see and to show to the large public what are the results. And yeah, so I already mentioned DG Prime. So it's since I'm the PO, so I feel, let's say, I'm very proud of my projects, and in particular with DG Prime, we had also the occasion. It was my first my first review meeting together in in a real physical place. So and we also realized what is the added value of be together in the same place. I think it's we lost a little bit this this kind of interaction during the pandemic, and I hope that we will be able to to get back to this kind of activities as we used to do it. And so here you have the main points of let's say the goals of DG Prime, but I don't want to anticipate too much, because I know that then Marcello will provide a better overview. And the only thing it's important to the main goal of DG Prime is to create a model, in particular introducing digital platform, and this will implement, let's say, put together not only different sectors, but also sectors coming from these different regions. And this is also an added value, let's say, for the large public, for the community. And I think that that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. There is a comment actually coming from the chat from Miss Virginia Gomez, who is following us, and she's saying, "Bravo, Elena, really nice to see you again. Very clear explanation." Now, I can't agree more. It was a very nice presentation. I think there is a lot of inspiration for all of us. Each of us has a role to play in the translation, of course, in the research and in the making of the digital tools, but of course also in the translation from digital to policies. So thank you again. And
now the floor goes to Marcello Colledani. He's a professor at Politecnico di Milano, and he's the coordinator of DG Prime project. So he will introduce you the project.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Well, thanks a lot. Good morning also from my side, Marcello Codani, Politecnico di Milano, Department of Mechanical Engineering. I will, so very nice introduction of DG Prime in the previous speech. Thanks, Elena, for the framing of DG Prime in the framework of all different projects in this area of digitalization and circular economy. I will give you a brief overview of what we are aiming at and what we are developing in DG Prime. Of course, with a perspective that privileges tools and services really targeting regions and regional stakeholders. So the starting point of view of DG Prime was, of course, the will to achieve and to make real the implementation of circular economy by exploiting all different existing circular economy options that you see in this slide. So transforming the currently linear value chains into more circular value chain, trying to gather value and, of course, residual value and materials from post-use products. Of course, there were, when we started and are still in the industrial ecosystem, some barriers to implement this approach. You see these barriers here. I would like to mention mainly one barrier, the asymmetry of information between the stakeholders of the circular value chain. When we talk about asymmetry of information, we really need something very concrete. I mean, it's not only information is not transferred and this is not good for the traceability of the product. This is one aspect. But of course, information is not transferring at the moment, and this is having a serious effect on the efficiency of the processes that are embedded in all these transformation boxes. So it's a very concrete effect this asymmetry has on industrial stakeholders that populate the different phases of the value chain. Of course, the other main motivation was the lack of protocol and a mechanism to certify the quality of the materials in order to enable a reuse of materials and components and in a systematic way. So starting from these motivations, we set up this consortium. We have a kind of large-scale consortium, 36 partners, 11 EU member states, and significant funding for doing what? To develop a digital platform to enable overcoming the aforementioned limitations. So dedicated to digital, to the circular economy at large scale. So this is the framework. Part of this funding goes to open calls, as you will hear later on. And we are currently, let's say, a little bit more advanced than middle of the project is, I would say, 2/3 of the project. We had a very nice review meeting last month where we could see the developments and we could also test live the services. But of course, the activities are ongoing towards the pilots, as you will see in a while. So we have three main pillars in DG Prime. The first pillar is the architecture of the platform. I didn't mention that, but the main perspective to circular economy that we are really promoting in DG Prime is the cross-sectorial reuse of residual properties of materials and components, because we believe that many materials still maintain enough residual properties at the end of the first use cycle in order to meet the specifications of other use cycles in different sectors. So the structure and the architecture of the platform actually reflects this idea of cross-sectoriality. Today's sectors are starting speaking to each other to exchange experiences in the reuse and recycling of materials, but this is not yet systematically implemented. So the structure, the architecture of DG Prime is what we call federated architecture. So we have archetypes of the structure of the architecture that are focused on a specific sector, with the data model that are focused on specific sector. And then this archetype is replicated for all the sectors that gets connected to the DG Prime ecosystem. And of course, data exchange capabilities are provided by the platform itself. Clearly, this kind of high-level framework then has an implementation behind. So it's getting more technical when it comes to the technical, digital enablers to implement such a federated architecture. You see some of them here. We have blockchain technology that enables to have traceability of transition information exchange between stakeholder. And of course, this is this would be acceptable by stakeholders only if there is some guarantee that traceability is supported in a secure way. The second pillar is the services. So having the data contained in the platform, we provide capabilities to the user to exploit this data in a useful manner. This is done through the services. We have two sets, big sets of services, what we call the value chain oriented services that are more horizontal and enable to exploit this connection between stakeholders that is pursued in DG Prime. And then we have what we call the vertical services. So those services that are also called operational services that make operations in specific stakeholders of the value chain more efficient thanks to the availability of data. So you see here some of the services listed. Of course, I do not have time to go through all the services. It's in total 16 services we are developing. So I will give priority to the services that are more oriented to regional stakeholders, as I said. The last pillar, so I mentioned architecture, structure, federated. First pillar, I mentioned the services, how to make use of the information stored in architecture. And then, of course, we need to prove that these two elements work well together and provide useful capabilities to the users. So the third pillar is our pilots. We have 4 technical pilots, and these technical pilots are focused on relevant components of this big transition we are experiencing in Europe towards e-mobility. So these are all high. This is renovation works, I guess. So still connected to the topic. So there are 4 components, macro components of electric vehicles that we are targeting: batteries, mechatronics and electronics, composites and technopolymers, and textile parts in e-vehicles. Why these components? Because they are extremely strategic in order to make sure that the transition to e-mobility also guarantees the circularity of the automotive sector. You know that nowadays there are important targets on recovery on end-of-life vehicles. There is a legislation, and these targets are actually met, but by European member states. For internal combustion engine vehicles, what will happen for electric vehicles? So this is the kind of contribution we give through these pilots. Try to exploit the DG Prime platform and the services in order to promote a sustainable transition to this model, e-mobility, also from a point of view of circular economy. Of course, these pilots do not have the same maturity level, as you understand very well. So mechatronics, electronics, they already have an established business organizations that take care of remanufacturing this kind of auto parts. For batteries, clearly the maturity is lower. It's a business that is starting in Europe. We know about the gigafactories that are under development. So it's important to test the platform on pilots that have different level of maturities as well. But these 4 pilots are not the only pilots we have. We added the proposal preparation phase 2 pilots that have the goal to animate the ecosystem and to make this transition stable, not only demonstrate through pilots the capability of the platform, but also promote the identification and the development of new pilots, thanks to the contribution of regional stakeholders. So in pilot 5, we are, that is led by Veltha, we are implementing and we are digitalizing the approach that we developed together with some of the stakeholders that are here today in the SCREEN project. So this was a 6-phase approach that was very well formalized in one of the deliverables that is still available in the website of the SCREEN project. And they were not implemented at the time, they were just formalized. We are translating these phases into a practical tool that the regions can use for supporting this transition and identifying emerging ideas in the territories that can be connected interregionally in order to promote the business transferring of these ideas. In pilot 6, we are actually focusing on another important emerging ideas at European level, this idea of circular innovation hubs. We have been working since, well, I would say 7 years now within the Vanguard initiative on the development of this concept of network of infrastructure for supporting companies in testing potential solutions in the area of circular economy, de-risking the private investments before it's actually made. And here you see the architecture. We will come back to this later on, where I will talk about DRMCO as well. But here we develop all the digital tools supporting the connection of this interregional infrastructure and the provision of services to stakeholders. Now, I will quickly go through some services because I don't think I have too much time left. I reported here one of the services. This is not really targeting the regions, is an example of a value chain oriented service that we developed in DG Prime. It's called demand and supply matching. And the idea of this service is to provide capability to industrial stakeholders, different sectors, to get connected to do some matchmaking in terms of availability of materials in their post-use products and demand for materials in other sectors. The way we do this is, of course, considering the fact that companies are really basing this kind of supply management on the specifications they apply on the material. So it's not just knowing vaguely the type of material that is provided, but they really need to know the characteristics of the material and the technical specifications in order to create this kind of link. That's what this platform, this service, sorry, actually does. And it goes from the identification of potential links, again, elaborating on the technical characteristics of the material, down to the development, to the support of the negotiation between a provider of material and user, and even to the signature of contracts to establish these B2B links among different companies in different sectors. The other services I will be talking about are those related targeting regional stakeholders. So I'm sure Veltha could speak better about these services because they are the developers of these services, but I will try to do my best and sketch the main features of these services. So this is called identification of cross-regional value chains through open innovation. So basically here, there is a solution, a digital solution to, first of all, import in the platform information about emerging business opportunity or business ideas in the region. Sometimes these ideas are, we call them latent ideas, right, in SCREEN, because they might not be so formalized yet. But I'm sure you experience this while talking to SMEs. A lot of similar ideas emerge, and it's a loss if we don't track this idea and we don't try to elaborate upon these ideas. So this tool is actually looking at collecting these ideas and formulating mechanisms to link these ideas in order to promote then path to implementation of these ideas. And this is a really high added value, and we believe that since SCREEN, that the role of the regional institutions in supporting this formalization of latent ideas and the transformation into concrete projects is very important. So here you see some part of the steps of the methodology that are supported by the tool. And of course, who is the stakeholder that should provide information? Part of the inputs are required to the regional officers that approach this tool. Parts of the inputs are provided in an open innovation environment by companies on the territory. And then, of course, there is an analysis part and the research institutes as well. And then there is an analysis part that creates a sort of map of how to connect these ideas, considering inputs by different regions. So I hope that these few minutes gave you an overview. There was also a summer school in Rome to promote the use of these tools among regions, and I'm sure that there will be more in the remaining part of DG Prime. This is another important tool. It's called material flow monitoring. Of course, while having all this data, an important capability we can give to the regional stakeholders is to have a high-level view of the material flows in the region. And since Screen Project, we collaborated, Bart, you were involved in this part, in the elaboration of these Sankey diagrams for capturing the main dynamics of the material flow in a circular way in a given regional territory. It can be a macro regional territory, or it can be single region, or can be part of the region. And of course, this tool also provides capability to measure some KPIs, is aggregated KPIs, but is what is needed to understand how is the ecosystem evolving in the recovery of value from specific materials. And the last service I want to speak about, or to mention at least, is what we call barrier identification and policy intervention. It's a tool for collecting needs and transferring needs for legislation barriers or for perceived opportunities from the stakeholders in the territory. So again, Veltha is responsible of this tool. Sarah is actively working on its development and its population with use cases in order to improve the capability of the tool. Of course, all these services are iteratively improved towards the requirements of the users. So I do not want to go in details, but it's kind of a collaborative space, as is written here, for companies and public bodies to put together the efforts in the identification of potential directions of improvement of the current legislation and a systematic way to collect recommendation from stakeholders. Of course, everything is done in the digital world, so through the platform. So everything can be tracked and can be communicated to different stakeholders, also supporting a real collaborative way of transferring these ideas. Well, I think I got to the end of this introduction. So DG Prime is still ongoing. So if you have more, if you want more information, or if you're interested to get in contact with us, please approach me or colleagues in Veltha as well. We are now in the phase of testing the services in the technical pilots and also in the two non-technical pilots. What we would like to prove is that through the use of the services, the circular economy approaches that are fostered in the 4 technical pilots can be made more efficient, either through a reduction of costs for the stakeholders involved in the value chains for the more mature pilots, or in the unlocking the possibility to circularize some business cases, such as for batteries that is a little bit less advanced. How can and this is my last slide, the external stakeholders interact with DG Prime? Of course, many ways, but there is a very concrete way that is the open calls. So this project undergoes the cascade funding mechanism. we already launched the Open Call A and closed the Open Call A that was dedicated to services, to IT companies that are willing to develop more services on top of what we already have in order to provide more capability to our platform. And now the projects have been selected for Open Call A, and we are in the phase of signing the mini grant agreements with the winners of the Call A. But in parallel, we are also preparing the launch of Call B. So here you see some of a preview of the key aspects of the Call B. It will be dedicated to new pilots. What does new pilot means? We had to, of course, constrain a bit the idea of new pilots in order to be able to support in 6 months the development of these pilots through the services. Now we have three main, well, I would say 2 main criteria. Of course, those pilots that are somehow connected to the pilots we already have in terms of input or output, looking at the material and component streams, or those pilots that are focusing on the same materials or components, but in different application scenarios. So for example, technopolymers is not only present in automotive. So if a company is interested to promote the circularity of technopolymers in, I just throw a sector, medical technologies, right? Optoelectronics. Of course, there might be interest in to investigate this opportunity. Clearly, we are not only constraining, but we are also opening to totally new pilots that we may be able to support with our services. The call will have a budget of 1.2 million euros, so it's a kind of a rich budget that we can dedicate to this part, and we are really looking forward to receive large number of high quality proposals in this call, because this will be, of course, supporting the extension of the footprint of the DG Prime project. So I hope I was relatively on time, and thank you for this opportunity to present DG Prime in this context.
Thank you, Marcello. So we just saw the importance of supporting the transition of the industry and also capitalizing on the digital technologies. Now we will shift through a new type of instrument that focuses on a region and to foster the cooperation between different regions and their local actors to support circular economy. So this new type of instrument is the I3, which is Interregional Innovation Instrument. We will have an introduction about the program and then an example of a funded project. So now the floor goes to Eric Cabral Garcia, who works at DG Regio and as program assistant. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today here, and thanks to Marcello for his presentation that he will also then a bit expand on what I'm gonna tell you here. So you're working with the project officer from the agency ISMEA. I'm here to give a bit of a policy context around this new instrument. It's a pilot program that is directly managed by this agency. So I'm part of the Smart and Sustainable Growth Unit in DG Regio. So we're working on regional and urban policy. So yeah, just to give you a policy context about this new instrument. So it stems from different inputs. Three of them, you can find them here in this slide. So one is the European Commission communication by 2017 about strengthening innovation in Europe's regions. With this communication, it was raised the importance to strengthen the collaboration, cross-border, inter-regional collaboration and investments. So for scaling up innovative projects in this dimension. So we went also through a learning phase stemming from the experience of the thematic smart specialization platforms. that are also encouraging regions to and their innovation actors to build innovation partnerships. Here in the I3 also, we are building innovation consortia stemming from this experience. Also, I would like to mention you here that we are going to present soon a community of practice that will be a new tool supporting these smart specialization platforms. And then last July, the communication of the new European Innovation Agenda was published. In particular, one of its flagship 3 is mentioning our instrument, I3 instrument, as one of those, together with Horizon Europe, that are going to be one of the tools through which we're going to have regional innovation valleys individuated out of these calls. So we're going to build upon these instruments to go further with complementarity with other Horizon calls. So key features for I3. So with I3, we want to support mature projects with an interregional dimension. So we want to lead to a final step toward commercialization and scaling up of innovation. Here, the real added value is that we want to build European value chains. So either for more projects, more mature projects already, and also for in less developed regions where we need to build capacity to get to the point where we can develop these EU value chains. So here there is a strong involvement of less developed regions. That is one of the main points of the cohesion policy. For whom this is entailed, so we want to address really all the stakeholders of the quadruple helix. Public administration, civil society, businesses, research that are involved in these smart specialization strategies. So at both national and regional levels. So here we have a comprehensive approach that is key in the cohesion policy. This is the first instrument, the first program funded through cohesion funds that is implemented by an agency. So we are working closely with the ISMEA, European Innovation Council, and SMEs Executive Agency that is following the implementation of this instrument. And we have, for the whole period 21-27, 570 million euros at current prices. So we are focusing here on 3 main thematic areas: digital transition, green transition, and smart manufacturing. For the current work program 21-22, for example, green transition is also including circular economy, where here we have we will have the link with the REMCO project that Marcelo will mention. And we have 3 strands of funding. So we have funding, financial and support funding for focusing on interregional innovation projects in shared smart specialization areas. So for mature projects, so really we are in a technology readiness level 6 to 9 close to market. Then we have a strand 2A that is targeting mainly less developed regions to build who already have this mature project to build on these EU value chains. And then we have the strand 2B that is really to help less developed regions stakeholders build these close to market projects to then be able to apply to strand 1 and 2A that are already close to market. So this capacity building for less developed regions is really an important step to play in the level field between less transition and more developed regions that are that is our categorization of regions under the cohesion policy. The expected outcome of strand 1 and 2A, as I already mentioned, is to have this financial and advisory assistance provided under these trends that is expected to lead toward mature joint innovation investment projects in companies. So our final beneficiaries will be companies, especially SMEs, that will get their grants toward the investment portfolio through cascade fundings, for example. So here, just to give you a bit of an overview of the framework of where the I3 positions itself. So it is complementing Horizon Europe. For example, I already mentioned the new European Innovation Agenda that puts them together to foster innovation and to create these regional innovation valleys and to connect European innovation ecosystems. There is a link to Interreg, of course. Here we learn from the experience of Interreg and we move a step forward. So we're going to still have this interregional aspect, but we're going to build this on European value chain. So we won't have the real need to have these regions sharing a border, but to be in the same value chain. And then again, we have a focus of the projects that are close to the market. So we really want to bring a product or a service on the market with this cohesion fund provided. And again, it's all in the framework of the cohesion policy, while, for example, the project before was in the Horizon context. So just to give you an idea, on Tuesday, there will be a second cutoff date of the current work program. I will tell you in a minute for the new work program when there will be, because at this point it's too late for this one. But we have available online still the video of the info session is made in June. And we have the FAQs, and here you have also the contact that you can contact for other informations from the agency. For what regards strength to be, so the capacity building for less developed regions. Here we have a strong interregional dimension as in the other strengths. And the idea here is to give financial and advisory support to less developed regions to experiment new approaches, to deliver validated solutions. So for example, we will have core activities and support activities to let them experiment these new approaches. They will be able to, through these activities, connect between themselves, build ecosystems, analyze, for example, what is already in place, so do market research, identify investment projects that are already there and that can be applicable to this framework instrument. And then they will also do this through support activities. So meaning that they can benchmark their status with other regions. They can do networking events, they can network, they can meet each other, understand where they are, where they stand, and how they can collaborate together. So the next steps, I already mentioned that we are we are working on the current work program, so 23-24. So again, we have the same division. There will be nuances, some differences, but really small differences from the current work program. So again, understand one, there will be support for commercialization and scaling up of interregional innovation projects in shared smart specialization areas. Understand two-way, we will have again the integration, a support for the integration of innovation actors for less developed regions to let them develop these European value chains. So here we want to bring a further emphasis to the importance of helping and bridging the gap between less developed regions and transition and more developed regions. So there will be a due consideration for those consortia that are going to include outermost regions and regions with specific challenges. The thematic priorities will be again the same. So digital transition, green transition, smart manufacturing. So again, we are addressing here what is the actual twin transition challenge. That is one of the priorities. And for the time frame, so we are planning to launch these calls starting of next year, so first quarter of 2023, and sorry, second quarter of 2023 and first quarter of 2024. While we are, okay, I will mention later that we are going to launch the Strand 2B call for the current work program in December. Also, under this new work program, we are going to implement a so-called I3 support facility. This is also a tool that we are going to implement to bring support to the less developed regions to implement these actions that I just mentioned. So core activities, support activities, they will be accompanied through this I3 support facility. And you cannot see here, I think, a global amount of grants under this work program will be 155 million as the current work program, more or less. Here, if you are going to circulate this presentation, you have also some links for more information. You have a more informative article that we wrote with Panorama. And then on the ISME I3 webpage, you can find all the info. There are also the current calls where you can find for the current work program, how they were structured. And that's it for my side. So thanks again, and happy to leave the floor to Marcello.
Good morning, everyone. I've just been told that they're having just a break because they're fixing some technical issues. So in the meantime, yeah, you can just wait a few minutes and then we'll get back to it. Thank you very much. And thank you to all those that have written down their details. Thank you very much. I invite all the rest to do the same.
So we had a technical issue with the connection. We are trying to fix it. So we will have a 2-minute break in order to resolve this issue. Sorry.
Room started taking a coffee to have a break. So just at 25, we will come back to the meeting. So 3 minutes for the coffee for people that are at tutorials right now. In the meanwhile, people from the audience, please do exchange your names, do exchange your role in the organization, because we are gonna make, I mean, it's useful for us internally. Yeah.
Thank you, Luca.
We are still here with everyone. So just 1 or 2 minutes, but everyone drinks a coffee and we're back.
Perfect.
Can you prepare for me a coffee? No, just reading the people that are very interesting audience. I'm very happy about everyone who is here with us today. Okay, I think we can keep going. So let's just share the screen, open the slides, and so this was the A3. Your slides are here. Here we go. They should not, they don't see it yet. Now they do. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Luca. So now I will introduce, and it's the first time I do this presentation because this project is really new, and we are starting the project hopefully next month. So it will be a very application-oriented project. It's called DEREMCO, Dairy Manufacturing for Circular Economy Investments in the Composite Industry. So as you see here, we don't have yet a template of slides of DEREMCO. We are working on it, but I use the Vanguard Initiative slide template for a reason, because actually this project really emerged from a journey that was starting in Vanguard and then ended up in these initiatives. So And I would like to go through very quickly the steps of this journey that have been very important to make concrete this transition in this sector. So we run this demo case within the efficient and sustainable manufacturing pilot in the Vanguard Initiative. I don't know if you are familiar with the Vanguard Initiative, but it's a network of regions that was launched years ago. And with this idea of developing and formalizing cross-regional investment projects in different areas. Within the pilot on efficient sustainable manufacturing, we have been launching and collecting interest from different regions and formalizing this DRE manufacturing for circular economy demo case. You see the regions already involved and the regions that are continuously expanding the interest on this topic and expressing interest in joining. I don't want to go in details of this initiative. Is having its own life and is ongoing, but you see here the main concept. The idea is to create this network of interregional infrastructures as I explained before, using the tools developed in DG Prime for delivering services to especially small, medium enterprises in the regional territories in order to support de-risking business cases in circular economy before actually implementing them in the private side. So supporting the transition between TRL 7 and TRL 9, that is then the industrial implementation. Now, within this context, we have been formalizing and formulating in the past 7 years different use cases, and these use cases are all cross-regional. So they involve different regions that are connected either in terms of phases of the value chain or in terms of exploiting the core technologies in their smart specialization to prove some strategy to close the loop. And one of these use cases, the most mature one, has been devoted to the recovery of composite materials, especially from wind energy systems. I will comment briefly why later on. But based on this use case, we have gone through 2 steps, very important, to further formulate the ecosystem. The first, the participation to this DigiRegio pilot action, and the second one has been the TAF service that really supported the development, the collection of concrete business cases by small, medium enterprises within our regions involved in this activity. In parallel, we launched already in 2017 innovation project that was helping bring in the technologies to the right TRL to be ready to be transferred to industry. This was the fiber use project, and this was finished in September last year and was really devoted to develop the technologies following 3 strategies for closing the loop in the composite industry. You see here one of the interesting outcomes of this project in terms of dissemination event and transferring of these results of this project, the fiber use project results, to the large audience, the citizens, to the local stakeholders. We have run this installation, was a kind of large-scale installation, 300 square meters in Milan, within the design week. So it was Fuori Salone, a Super Studio Più, for those of you that are familiar with this event. And unfortunately, it was the 2021 edition. And as you know, it was the first edition just after the COVID. But it was very interesting to perceive the feedback from citizens on exposing products that all contained variable fractions of recycled fibers from starting from wind energy systems and from aeronautics scrap in terms of carbon fiber and forced plastics, of course. Well, these were the initial elements that we put together for further upscaling the results in the REMCO. And of course, we are not only focusing on the wind energy here, we are focusing on a wider set of sectors because composites are widely used in several sectors. We are talking about plastics, but we are talking about plastics with technical characteristic reinforced by fibers. It can be glass fibers or carbon fibers. So, and this is giving the name of composites, this kind of materials. And you see, it's not only wind energy, it's construction, widely adopted there, is aeronautics, is automotive, medical equipment, sport equipment. So there are many sectors where these materials are introduced, of course, with the main limitation that they are, many reasons, too expensive to be widely used in more applications. Here you see some of the markets where these materials are being widely adopted in Europe, and also the regional areas or the countries where these materials are more intensively transformed. What is the problem here is that at the moment there's no solution. There's no industrial solution to the recycling of this material, to the recovery of this material. The only solution is what is called co-processing, so to give a very low-end destination to the GFRP type of composites. But there's no industrial solution to solve this problem at the moment. And what we are aiming here, sorry, let me just give you a data because I don't have the slide, but I will just report you a data. So it's expected that in 2025, 70,000 tons of GFRP will be collected by end-of-life wind energy blades, right? 70,000 tons in Europe. And without a concrete action here, this material will be ending up in landfill or in this low-end application through co-processing. So it's really a pressing challenge that we have to tackle at European level. And of course, this amount is growing in the next years. Why? Because these wind energy systems are clearly reaching the end of life after 25, 30 years. And so the first generation is being replaced in these years. So as you see, a very concrete approach of Aramco is to support, as you don't see here, but I see here, maybe it's coming, maybe it's waiting. The very concrete approach of Aramco is to support specific small medium enterprises in our regions. We have 7 regions interconnected in this project. To do the step.
Okay, I guess we have another technical problem from the room. Can you all hear me, right?
Yes, Daniela.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Then just let's be patient for a moment.
still able to use the same data and add features to the platform. So I think this is the unique selling point. And of course, this was not trivial. So this has required a kind of important investment in development of the IT backbone. Now is working. We have formalized the different data exchange mechanisms, APIs, etc. So it's available, this information. So also for future. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah. You know, there are attempts, even in the industrial level, to develop matrices that are more, let's say, suitable for the recycling process. This is a good approach. The point is that there are many composites already circulating in the market. So, I mean, these were not designed to be recycled at that time. And of course, these new materials, new resin, new formulations are still in sort of infancy, right? They are emerging in terms of large-scale use. In our project, we are considering the design, but especially the design of the product for adding recycled materials. So there are some aspects of the product that you need to rethink if you want to embed a certain amount of recycled material, maybe some thicknesses to increase, you know, to make more structural, solid the component, or joints to be rethought in order to make provide more than one life to the project, to the product. This is the kind of thinking we are doing in the RMCO, because we want to be market ready. I mean, more closer to the implementation. But this is a very important area of further development, definitely. Oh, thanks, Luca. Well, I have to say I have the last two slides, but here you see the previous one. Yeah, I think I didn't comment on this. Shall I leave this way? You can have a very quick comment. One very quick comment. Here you see the industrial cases that we will develop in the RMCO. We will demonstrate in the RMCO. As you see, they are following two main strategies, recovering particles for mechanical recycled composite and recovering long fibers with thermochemical processes. The key point is that these solutions are developed cross-regionally. So the regions will put together the main competencies in their smart specialization and provide the solution to the industries. Very last point, the work plan. We have open calls here as well to be managed. Of course, not on the digital side, but on the technical demonstration side. And we have this work package on replication and multiplication, where Veltha will also be contributing to try to export the solution from these, let's say, more mature regions into emerging regions for extending the footprint of the project. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much.
More updates next year's.
Thank you, Marcello. And also I will say thank you for the exceptional crisis management skills, because so.
Yes, so now we move on with a presentation from Davide Delaiti, who is the project officer at the European Research executive agency. He will introduce us the support for circular economy to cities and regions. So thank you, first of all, for coming. Pay attention to this.
Stay here. Okay. Hello, everyone. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to this event. It's a real pleasure. I will briefly introduce myself. So I'm Davide Delaiti. I work for the Research Executive Agency, specifically for Cluster 6. And my portfolio of project is mainly within the, let's say, circular economy field, specifically regarding the aspect of a systemic solution applied to regions and cities. I'm here today in replacing the real project officer of Frontship. So I will do let's say, a general presentation on the Research Executive Agency and also on the CCRI, so the Circular Cities and Regions Initiative, which is, let's say, important also for the Frontship project. So. Okay, so as I anticipated, this is, let's say, the topics I will discuss in my brief presentation. So a short introduction of the Research Executive Agency, and then about, let's say, the Green Deal call under which it was funded the Frontship project with other 3 projects. And which is, let's say, the real contribution to the CCRI, and how, let's say, the Frontship and the other project under the same call are involved and can, let's say, contribute to it, and how can they receive also support from the CCRI, so from the office, let's say, that is actually managing the CCRI initiative. And then, let's say, last few important remarks on the communication, which is always important to refresh. So the Research Executive Agency received the mandate from the European Commission for managing the different, let's say, EU programs. Big part of the Horizon Europe program, so specifically Cluster 2, 3, and 6, and other type of actions. On top, let's say, of Horizon Europe, we have other 2 important, let's say, funding tools. One is the program regarding the EU promotion for agricultural products, and also the EU, let's say, Council for the Steel and Coal. On top of these, let's say, activities, there are some other services that the Research Executive Agencies, let's say, providing. One of which is the support of independent experts. So we are, of course, managing all the database of regarding the experts that are reviewing also your proposal, and all the legal and financial services that are supporting the monitoring of different projects that are funded under the programs where we manage. Just a quick refresh on the most, let's say, important figures under the program that we are managing. So, of course, the project officer and the financial officer that have, of course, depending on the agencies, they have different type of roles. For what concerns Research Executive Agency, they have quite a big role compared to other agencies. So, of course, the main role is to follow up your agreement, helping you in, let's say, try to improve your grant agreement, your project, in order to be better manageable from a plan point of view. Of course, there is the part of the amendments, which is also really important. We offer, let's say, of course, support for what concern the periodic reports and the selection of the different reviewers that will have to review your project. Now I will skip, let's say, to the part regarding the Green Deal call, under which it was funded also the Frontship project. So I won't, let's say, anticipate what the frontiership project is, because of course I know that there is another presentation after mine, but we'll go in deep on it. But of course, just to refresh, the call under which was funded frontiership project is the one specifically topic, the one on building a low carbon climate resilient future. So the main aim was to, let's say, demonstrate circular systemic solution for the territorial development of circular economy. These are the four projects funded under this topic. Let's say that from coverage of the industry is quite varied, because we have, of course, the frontiership, but we have also the eco-efficient regarding the systemic solution within the, let's say, fishery industries, the agro-circular within the agro-food sector, and circular foam regarding the systemic solution to be found for the end life cycle of foam. These are four projects that we consider as twin projects, so with which, let's say, we try to support you to find also synergy within the so-called clustering activities package. And of course, when we are talking about clustering activities, we cannot mention the CCRI initiative, so the Circular Cities and Region Initiative, which is, let's say, which was launched and part of European Circular Economy Action Plan adopted in March 2020. It has, let's say, the twofold, let's say, objective. There are dedicated person, let's say, support office that is working on this. On one side, we try to find, let's say, the synergy and initiative, and we try to involve all the project under the umbrella of a CCRI to participate to common events, to try to get the most out of the policy, let's say, feedback that you can give in respect, let's say, to the policy development for the European Commission. We try also, of course, to give greater visibility to these projects. We are talking about, of course, more than the four projects that I just mentioned. There are several others under calls that just happened. And the other part, let's say, is regarding pilots and fellows. So in April 2022, it was launched a call for expression of interest for EU city regions and territorial clusters. The selection was just performed, and 12 pilots and 25 fellows were selected. So the main aim of the CCRI in this case is to support the selected ones to, let's say, monitor which are the, let's say, the most relevant circular economy projects, to, let's say, guide them in circular economy action plan with in the cities or regions, or depending, let's say, the actor that is involved. And this is, let's say, is the, let's say, general umbrella of activities that the Circular Cities and Region Initiative is involved in. You might have been contacted already by some of, let's say, by the contacts working with the CSO office to recently, for example, regarding the surveys. So we are trying to gather in some important data, of course, the one that can be publicable, let's say, not the sensitive one. And they are trying, let's say, to give more visibility and to support you in this. But let's say the type of collaboration that there is under the CCRI happens between three main actors, so the Research Executive Agency, DG RTD, which is our parent DG, and the CSO office, which is outside the Commission. I, let's say, resume here the main, let's say, group of categories, let's say, group of activities where we try to collaborate with the CSO and DGRTD. So, for example, during the gap phase, we are trying to, for the project funded under the same call, to find common deliverable or tasks. For example, cluster activity task, which means, for example, to participate to CSO events organized by CCRI CSO office, to participate to kick off meetings together, to try to also collaborate together to policy paper, so on the policy feedback side, but also when it comes, let's say, to the business achievements of the different projects, all the relevance let's say, exploitable outputs and results that can be used and can be supported in the, let's say, in giving more visibility by the CSO. We are trying to extract, let's say, this data from the projects, so the REA in this case, and pass it to the CSO in order to ensure a greater visibility. Of course, this is again under all the confidentiality, let's say, policy and all the deliverables that can be actually disclosed outside the commission, not the ones that are sensible, let's say. So this was the part regarding the CCRI, brief part regarding the, let's say, the communication, dissemination, exploitation part. Please always remember to put the, let's say, the symbol of the European Commission when you are doing events like this one, for example. If you have any let's say, social or communication activity that have a greater impact on a wider audience, please always contact also the granting authority. So us in this case. Some important tools that is, let's say, that I decided to put again here in case you would like to refresh or to use some of them for the implementation of your project. Other important manuals that could be important, let's say, for the dissemination, exploitation, and communication part. Remember that this is let's say, a crucial part, especially if you want, let's say, to make your project visible to the right stakeholders. And last part, if you don't already do it, please follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Thank you, Davide. We actually have one very quick question from Emanuele Rotili from the Lazio region, who is asking from the live, from the people following from the web, is in the upcoming calls 23-24, are scheduled topics dedicated to circular economy in the regions to apply for projects similar to Friendship?
Yes, so there are, let's say, in 2023, we are, let's say, more DGRTD, is working, let's say, on the working program for 2023. There will be a couple of calls dedicated always, let's say, to the CCRI, so under the CCRI umbrella. One will be probably on the PDA, so let's say more on the financial support for circular economy project to be more attractive from a point of view of investments, and the other one similar to the one of, let's say, Friendship, so to find systemic solutions for circular economy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, we have mentioned Friendship several times.
So now we will have a presentation actually from remote. So we will have Sofia Zui from SAM that will present Friendship.
Sofia, I think you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. And I hope you can see my screen right now. Okay, perfect. So as they like said already, I'm going to talk about Friendship. And I'm Sofia Zura, and I work from SAM. It's an engineering company from Genoa. And I'm going to skip really fast these slides and go directly to talk about Friendship. So Friendship is a European Green Deal project that is part of the CCRI initiatives in the framework of the Horizon 2020. And it has a focus on the Polish region of Łódź. And that it would be the pilot for this, the main pilot from this project. So the consortium is, and it is the Friendship is also a 4 years project, and it is the biggest European project in Poland and also the biggest in Eastern Europe. The consortium is made by 34 partners that comes from 9 different European countries. And the Friendship projects come from the idea to be aligned with the European objective of 2050, that is to be carbon neutral. And how to reach these objectives, to put some intermediate objectives that will be in, for example, 2030. And the idea is to take the already initiatives about circular economy that are applied in the municipalities, and they are currently working perfectly, and to integrate all these initiatives and actions from the municipalities and to upscaling to a regional scale. So the solution in Friendship started with this idea, and we have started to study and analyze 4 different feeds. There are the food packaging, the food agriculture municipality bio-waste, wastewater and nutrients, and the plastic, rubber, and polymer waste. From this 4 feed, we have created some circular systemic solutions. They have the aim to valorize and to reutilize this for type of waste in with the 4 different type of action. There are technological, economical, and from the policy and social point of view. And this circular systemic solution are connected between each other, and connects also the urban and the industrial areas. To go in particular to each one of the systemic solution, the first one, as previously mentioned, it has a focus on the food packaging waste, and it's the overall objective is to refurbish, reuse, and recycle this type of waste. And if this is not possible, it would be used for energy recovery and to produce thermal energy, and in general to decrease the quantity of carbon dioxide that is released in the atmosphere. And the second systemic solution has focus on the food agriculture municipal bio-waste. This type of waste, it will be transformed, for example, in compost that will be reused in the agriculture sector, and they will help to decrease the problem with the marginal lands that are currently not used. And also it will be used to produce biomethane and raw materials for the production of bio-oils and biolubricants. And the third type of systemic solution works with industrial and agricultural wastewater, and the aim is to reduce and capture the CO2 and to recover the nutrients that are inside the wastewater, and to produce and to treat the wastewater that can be then reused for agriculture purpose, and to also improve the soil's health and to decrease the problem of the eutrophication of the water resources. For the first type, it has a focus on plastic and rubber and polymer waste that integrate community-based repairing scheme for regenerating smaller households appliances, and also it will be applied some decarbonizing process with a foaming process utilizing CO2 from that is collected in the previous systemic solution instead of using fossil-based solutions. And with this last technology, it will use to produce plastic objects and installation products. The Latski region is not the only one that participated in friendship, but other 4 European regions are participating as both knowledge providers and replicators. These 4 European regions are the Friesland from the northern Netherlands, Norte from the north region of Portugal, Campania that is from the south of Italy, and Styria Iliada from the central Greece. These 4 other regions are participating also to demonstrate that the approach is highly replicable across Europe, as the systemic solutions are flexible and can be adapted to the specific of the local territory. And in particular, each region will focus on different CSS that will be applied based on the, as I said, the challenges of the territory, of the local framework, and of the availability of the resources. This is everything for me. I hope I won't be too fast. And thank you very much for Veltha to ask me to participate and to introduce friendship to all of you.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if we ran a bit late due to the technical issues we had, so you had to be quicker than expected, but still, it was a great presentation. I think it was very clear, and we have time at the end for the people who have time to make some questions eventually. So please stay with us until the end. Now, we will move to a presentation by Sarah. Actually, first of all, initially, I did a big mistake because I thought that she was, I said that she was a project assistant, but she's our program manager and expert in policies. So maybe one of the most important persons as well. And now I don't know why I cannot share the screen, which is, I did it until now. Daniela, can you make me organizer, please?
Yes, I'm on it. 1 second.
While I will start the presentation. So now we go to the Interreg Europe program, and we will see the Replace project. Of course, if we are able to share the presentation. So now we see how to support circular economy transition from the regional point of view. So a region cooperating together to ameliorate their regional operational programs. So we are talking about European Regional Development Funds. Replace as a consortium of 8 regions, and the Veltha participates as advisory partner. So we have lead partner Lazio region from Italy, Nexa La Réunion from France, which is an outermost region. Then we have UCH from Poland, which was also in the frontship that is just been presented. Then we have a Crete region from Greece, Friesland province from the Netherlands. And then we have the International Economic Institute from Hamburg, which represents the Free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Then we have a Northeast Romania Regional Development Agency and the Central Region of Portugal. Okay, so as an Interreg Europe project funded under the 4th call, it is divided into 2 phases. So the first phase is the learning and exchange of experience phase, which allowed us to produce the action plans. So each region produced an action plan in which they explain how the cooperation experiences that have been done and implemented during the first phase will be then implemented in the second period, which is the phase 2 period that lasts only 1 year. So it's a tight schedule to see the effectiveness of the measures that we have included in the action plan. So currently we are in the phase 2. It has just started. So this will be a presentation mainly to showcase the results of the project that have been achieved so far. So as you already have heard about Screen today, also Replace is a follow-up of a Screen project, which was an Horizon 2020 coordination and support action. This to see that experiences that come from a research project then can be capitalized in other programs. So the consortium, the partner within the consortium already cooperated together during the Screen project with the addition of the Hamburg International Institute of Economics. And they wanted to test the methodology that was developed during the Screen project. So it was a way to move from the methodological point of view of the Horizon to apply at regional level through the regional operational program, the methodology that was developed. So what are the most important outputs that we achieved so far with the Replace project? So we have worked together for the identification and the exploration of opportunity for cross-regional circular value chain. This allowed us to prepare a pilot action because we wanted actually to test these circular value chains in the different regions. But due to the fact that the project had an extension because of COVID, it was going too close to the end of the program because this was Interreg Europe 1420. So the Interreg Europe Joint Secretariat didn't approve this pilot action. But we want to make sure to find a way to fund this instrument, and maybe the I3 that was presented before can be a valuable opportunity. Then we had also the testing of the assessment criteria grid, which is an assessment criteria grid that will allow the regions to assess the project proposals that they will receive during the call for proposals. And then we will have also a very important result, which is the launch of the dedicated call for proposals. We have already one has been launched during phase 1, and 3 calls that will exploit all the methodology and the work that has been done so far will be launched. So this year, 3 dedicated call for proposals. So this is a screenshot of the work that we have done for the circular economy cross-regional value chain. So we here consider the sectors because the partnership is composed by regions, and the project focuses on the regional operational programs. So this is very tight and linked to the regional innovation and smart specialization strategy. And because of concentration of funding, the most logical way to go on was to focus on the sectors of the RIS3. We made sure to engage stakeholders throughout all this process of identifying cross-regional synergies in common sector. And then we defined the pilot action, as I mentioned before. Then again, the assessment criteria to properly evaluate the proposals and rank them. This was tested already in phase 1 by Centro Region in Portugal, and will be tested this year in La Reunion also by NEXA, which is the Regional Development Agency. Then, as I mentioned before, we will have 3 call for proposals that will be launched this year. And this represent basically all the work, the implementation that has been done during the past years. So we will have calls in Northeast Romania and a voucher scheme in Friesland and a dedicated call also in Crete region. Another important result of the project is the creation of a permanent stakeholder engagement platform in Hamburg. This thanks to the cooperation between our partner, that is the International Institution of Economics, and the Free and Asiatic Senate of the city of Hamburg. So they understood that there was the potential to create a permanent platform to foster the cooperation and the communication between the policymakers and the local companies. So the aim is then to produce policy action that are effective and in line with what the companies are needing. So here the first event will be very soon on the 26th of October at 5 p.m. Another very important result is the creation of a dedicated task force for circular economy in Crete. So usually in the regions, we still don't have a dedicated office or a dedicated team that works on circular economy. So as we know, the public administration works in a vertical and sectorial manner, while circular economy works in a horizontal manner. So the fact that they were able to recognize this and to create a task force that is dedicated specifically to make sure that in the two most important sectors of the Cretan economy, which is the agri-food, which are the agri-food and the tourism sectors, they will make sure that circular economy is included in the strategy, and then this task force is created also to make sure that the call for proposal is launched, because as you know, with many departments, it's needed to have a clear staff members that will work on that. And last but not least, from the communication between the academia, so the educational institution, and the public authorities, we have the example in Northeast Romania. So the Regional Development Agency cooperating with IASI local university, so their local university, which is the IASI University, they were able to prepare and create new training courses in circular economy, because as we all know, change and transformative change is very effective when it starts from the educational point. So this was all for now. Stay tuned with what will happen in phase 2.
Thank you very much, Sarah. We are going from one person of Veltha to another person from Veltha, which is Nora, or policy assistant. And you are going to present about?
The Policy Lab initiative. That's right. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Nora, as mentioned, and I'm doing an internship as a project assistant at Veltha. I'm here today to have the pleasure of presenting the Policy Lab and what it will represent from now on. I thought we'll begin with just a brief background for those of you who haven't heard of this initiative before. Some of you might have participated in our previous rounds, all of them or some of them. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, the Policy Lab was first developed within the H2020 Screen project by 17 European regions participating in the project. And the Policy Lab was a platform which promoted a dialogue between regions and stakeholders and helped with validating methods developed within the SCREEN project for circular regions, within circular economy, of course. The Policy Lab structure was then used within the Replace project and in the DigiPrime project. And after the end of the SCREEN project in 2018, the Policy Lab still continued and went on promoting synergies between regions and other stakeholders. The Policy Lab functioned as an arena for more and less technology advanced regions to exchange knowledge and innovation capabilities, and additionally aligning the goals of European regions' circular economy. And as you can see, the SCREEN website attracted many visits even after the end of the SCREEN project in 2018. The Policy Lab then evolved and became the Policy Lab 2.0, still heavily based on its predecessor, offering regions working with circular economy projects a platform for collaboration and to jointly design solutions for better policies, working as an interactive think tank. Every 3 months, a general research question was asked, and this was followed by a monthly published sub-question, which was then followed by a webinar workshop in order to foster discussion between regions and try to provide answers to the posed questions or to further develop the discussion. In this way, 2 co-designed publications have been published. And besides being a valuable communication platform where policies, ideas, and concerns are brought to light and further developed and ideally solved, the results from previous Policy Labs have also resulted in 2, as mentioned, 2 co-designed reports and numerous new synergies. So many of the participants from the Policy Lab have afterwards gone on to become partners in new projects. Over the past year, we also received input from over 60 regions on issues regarding circular economy, creating a more diverse and inclusive base for policy development. The Policy Lab has been involved in several EU projects, such as Replace, DigiPrime, Frontship, and soon to be Surpass. So this time around, the concept of the Policy Lab will again evolve. It has been a continuously evolving and adaptable concept that has over and over again proven to be useful and easy to adapt to new situations. As we this time around are in need of more of a workshop approach where different perspectives can come to light, the Policy Lab will accompany us by offering a workshop platform together with the launch of Veltha's newsletter. Veltha's initiative for regions will, alongside the Policy Lab, also offer a digital toolkit, providing easily accessed digital enablers for regional circular economy, covering different important areas. This digital toolkit will be a subset of open source interoperable web applications developed within the framework of DigiPrime to build a customizable solution for the digitalization of EU regions and their transition towards circular economy. This links with other solutions and tools coming from other projects or initiatives will also be added and later on clarified. So these are the tools included in the toolkit. Marcelo presented it very well during his first presentation. He really presented the core of the toolkit. So the value chain identification tool, which you can see at the bottom, will, as the name indicates, facilitate the identification of new circular value chains, both cross-sectorial and cross-regional. This tool will help regions both to help themselves to strengthen their circular activities, as well as supporting other European regions, while facilitating B2B communication and exchanges. The Barrier Solutions tool will cover the area of legislative and administrative aspects and offer an easily accessed platform for input and output from relevant actors involved in the circular economy transition in specific regions. The monitoring tool will cover the area of monitoring the regional CE development, how to understand, evaluate, and measure circular economy, inspired by other European projects. The material flow monitoring tool will assist the regional officers with understanding how and where material is located throughout different processes, and by extension point out where systematic changes should be made. Bart Volkers, who is presenting right after me, will tell you more about the circular benchmark tool. And more information about this will come, and Veltha will keep you updated. And if you would know a digital tool that could be linked within this toolkit for regions, please let us know. Oh, and I should also add, the toolkit will be free for use during the first year. Just contact us if you want to create an account. All the code developed by Veltha will be published open source on our website. However, we will also provide implementable service, where a strongly interested gets the toolkit up and running, customized and trained for a negotiable fee. Now, as mentioned, the Policy Lab will offer workshops as well. One is upcoming in November. We are arranging an online workshop addressing the concept and future practice of digital product passports. Oh, perfect, thank you. Digital product passports. The European Commission has submitted our proposal stating that all regulated products within the proposal for eco-design for sustainable products regulation, the ESPR, will have DPPs. And the proposal, ESPR, is stated by the Commission to be a cornerstone of the creation of sustainable and circular products. And you can read more about this at the links provided in the slide. DPPs, digital product passports, is a concept in need of a common understanding and definition of what it entails and how the development should proceed. We see a need of bringing stakeholders with different perspectives together to discuss barriers, demands, and opportunities with DPPs. And we are therefore invited keynote speakers who work directly with DPPs, either with policy or with technical development of these within different sectors, alongside regional officers who will participate in a discussion. And with the experience from policy labs, we believe that bottom-up approaches are of paramount importance, and we want to enable that regarding this subject as well, giving regional officers, companies, and policy officers a chance to meet and discuss the future of DPPs. So the layout of the workshop will be, as you can see here, a little bit different from earlier sessions. A shorter introduction by Veltha, followed by keynote speakers, followed by a moderated discussion, and after the workshop, the results of the discussion will be summarized and presented in a shorter publication. We are awaiting confirmation from the invitees and we'll keep you updated. If you are interested in participating in the workshop, please send us an email at pulselab@veltha.eu or contact us after this event. And as mentioned as well, the Veltha's newsletter will also be a part of the Policy Lab. We have a newsletter coming up within this launch, and it will be issued bi-weekly and address current issues, ideas, and knowledge exchange on the development with circular economy. Regions and other relevant stakeholders will be asked to provide input on material produced by Veltha in order to provide regional perspectives and promote a dialogue between European regions. The regional input will then be summarized, printed in the following edition of the newsletter. And our current issue is addressing the e-waste problem in the EU. And this time an article is on e-waste. Oh, okay, sorry. This is the last. It's the main material which has already received input. Thank you. And now I'm handing on to Bart.
We are so late. It's not your fault, it's the fault of... So thank you very much for the incredible work you've done in presenting the Policy Lab.
And now, last but not least, we will have Bart Volkers, which works from ProAct Blue and is also a consultant, and he will present the circular benchmark tool, which was also developed during the Replace project. So we will hear from Bart.
Thank you very much. And I'm honored to be the last but not least, as you said, but thank you also for the interesting presentations that we heard so far. Today, I'm going to tell you something about the circular benchmark tool. So thank you for setting this up, Luca. And the benchmark tool was actually started to develop in the Replace project as a further step in another regional project and will be further developed in Friendship as well. Respecting your time, I will try to be a little bit short. I will not talk faster, but I will skip some slides. And I will invite you also to visit the website later on, circularbenchmarktool.eu. So for those who are interested, please visit the website or contact me directly. Also counts for you. So we all know that regions and cities are well placed to stimulate the circular economy transition. That's not something I thought about, but it's a reference from the CCRI as well. And what we actually developed was an effective assessment tool, very simple tool for regions to understand and to visualize, compare, and exchange knowledge on circular economy and on specific indicators that are pretty relevant for regions themselves. And especially we developed a simple tool because there are a lot of tools that are pretty complicated. You need a lot of data, quantitative data to look at the value chains, etc. But we also figured that regions, and that was expressed in the Replace project, want to have something simple. So therefore, we developed a tool that has only questions you can answer with yes or no. And based on the answer, you will get some points. And based on the points, you will have a score. And based on that score, you will instantly receive a report for your own region with your score and also with the benchmarking results compared to other regions. Well, this saves time and resources for you. And I think it's a good first step to get some idea of where are you as a region on the level of circularity. So within Replace, we developed this proof of concept. And at that point, it was still an Excel-based version. For further development, my company ProBlue used ERDF funding from the Northern Netherlands region. So we could do some IT developments. And right now, it's an online platform that everybody can access. You can open an account and just start using it. And within Friendship, we will do some further developments on IT, on training, etc. We started with 6 regions that did actually use the proof of concept. Currently, there are 19 regions filling out the tool, trying to answer the questions. And we hope to grow to 30 to 50 regions next year. So this is what we start with within Replace. So you see the countries and the number of regions during the Replace project. The references were pretty positive, as you can imagine. And right now, there are more regions using the tool. And so these are the about 20 right now, and we hope to get to 50 in the course of next year. So what we actually did to get these 6 indicators, I will show them later on, is we firstly did a lot of field work and also desktop research with research papers. And we selected indicators that were used in other monitoring frameworks, in the things that regions were doing. And we came up with about almost 200 different kind of indicators. So for example, there was green procurement and there was bio procurement, all kinds of procurement. And we said, well, this is just circular procurement as one indicator. So from about 200, we came to about 6 indicators, overarching indicators. And as the knowledge and the practice on circular economy is just progressing, we keep on monitoring every half a year on what's new and to try to put it in the tool again, asking the smart questions. So these are the 6 indicators that are in the tool. I think as a region, you will recognize those. We checked it a couple of times with regions within Replace, but also within the Netherlands. And last year in the European Week of Citizen Regions, there are about 30 to 40 regions attending. And we explicitly asked this question, so do you recognize this? Do you have any other ideas? And also in testing the tool, we continue to ask for feedback and improvement. And we're still doing this, of course. So it's about access to funding, finding and unlocking the access to the funding for your SMEs, for the knowledge institutes, etc. It's about circular society. So that also addresses your presentation, actually. Value chain activation, and there's a link to the screen mapping tool as well. Asking a question, do you know the value chains in your region? If not, link to the screen mapping tool, for example. The good governance, the way you organize circular economy in your region. Integrated policy framework, so not only a circular economy policy, but integrated also with infrastructure, for example, with living, surrounding policies, etc. And of course, circular procurement as an instrument for regions to really, as an end user, activate the value chain. Well, the next slides, I will skip a little bit because I want to explain them some more, but because of lack of time, I just want to show maybe this one, because it relates to the first presentation, circular society. There are questions about creating awareness in a region, motivating the people, also developing circular skills and knowledge in your own organization, other organizations. And every indicator has different kinds of references where you can link to and can find other examples or some literature that can inspire you to develop further policies. So these I will skip, but I trust the presentation will be shared afterwards. So first I show the indicators, and secondly, I will show the levels on how you can score. And basically we applied the plan, do, check, act cycle, and we added something to it. So we say, well, you score 1 point if you have a good assessment of your baseline situation in your region. Secondly, when you draw up a plan, a circular action plan for your regions, for example. Level 3, when you start performing, start acting. And 4, where you evaluate and react. And finally, if you are leading by example, and you can imagine this is something that can change over time. Well, this is the website, circularbenchmarktool.eu, and you can easily sign up. You get your account, you can answer the questions. You can get started immediately. And this is how it looks like. So there will be, so this is for one indicator, circular procurement. There are 5 questions on the baseline level, on level of mapping, for example. And for each level, there are 5 questions. So there are 6 indicators. There are 5 levels. And within each level, there are 5 questions. So that you end up with 125 questions. So there's quite a lot, but you just have to answer them with yes or no. And you will get a result like this, a little bit more advanced on the online platform. And you can select other regions where you compare your results to. At this point, 19 regions are putting in their results. So we're first collecting a lot of data. So at this point today, you cannot do a really good comparison, but once these 20 regions are in, the comparison and the benchmarking will be better. So this is for the tool as it is right now. We're looking to take some next steps because we want to get to at least 50 regions, because then the benchmarking results will also improve for regions that apply it. And for this, we like to collaborate in networks and projects. So the Policy Lab is one of the example. The Frontier project is one of the example. We also already talked to the CCRI. Well, you're starting up with the CCRI, but it can get there. And also we talked to ACR Plus, network organizations for cities and regions on sustainability. And we just want to promote it right now, just to get this 50 regions there. And next, there's also some developments in the RT and also in the guidance. So we try to look for a connection to, for example, the DigiPrime platform, because otherwise it's just a tool, and I think it needs to connection also on the data level, but also on the variety of tools that are out there. There needs to be some more functionalities, and we're also looking, well, actually there are a lot of service providers across Europe. So we have 30 service providers that show their interest, but now we need to create a functionality for them. So for example, Northeast Romania is doing the benchmarking assessment, but also needs some local advisors and some local knowledge institutes. So we try to connect also these service providers to the network, and therefore we need another functionality. So these are the next steps. And we're thinking about also developing this tool for municipalities and cities and use the methodology for businesses. And I think it's worth to look at those, because it's just an easy tool where you can answer with yes and no, and you get a direct result. So thank you very much for attention. I look forward to receive any of your interest, and you can easily sign up to the website and start to the tryout, and please give me some feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bart. Now I will say we do one single round of questions before closing the official event. Then I will stop recording it, and then who has time can stay. I mean, we're not forced to leave the room directly, but I mean, it's already 12:30, so let's have this last round of questions. Daniela, are there any questions from the web?
Nope. Some of them had to leave in advance, but for now, everything's fine. So this is the right time to ask questions, if any.
All right, cool. Then any question from the audience? Any of you want to ask something? I see. Please also introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning. I'm Roberta Pascolini from Lazio region. I would ask a question to Mr. Garcia about the I3 call instrument. I would like to know, I read on the ISMEA website that a call should be published within December on strength to be capacity building for less developed regions. I would like to know if this is confirmed, and also if the thematic areas will be the same of the previous calls. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, it's confirmed it will be published in December, should be half of December. And we will keep the same thematic areas as in the other strands. So it's still current work programs on 21, 22. So yeah, it will be still green and digital transition and smart manufacturing. Yeah, indeed. It will be the same. Maybe there will be some nuances in the what will be included in each strand. But yeah, we're working on that, and the thematic priorities are the same, but maybe there will be included different areas.
I'm sure we will invest a lot at Veltha also to apply to this coming calls. So all the ecosystem we have or something to submit. Okay, then I will stop recording the event. Thank you very much to the 24 people. I mean, it was 29 now, and everyone is thanking for the event in the chat.